Good afternoon, my friend.
Hello, hello. Welcome back.
I know, with a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, more like a shift in the day, that's all.
Yeah, shift in the day. Well,
Yeah.
we didn't record last week, did we?
No, we didn't.
We did? Did
Yeah.
we? Yeah, we did. You're right. Okay. Fuck.
Yeah.
If anybody's wondering how my life's going, that should sum that up pretty well.
I thought last week was actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, and now that I'm remembering the conversation, my days, man,
Trust me.
they just blur together. I don't understand how it's already September, honestly. Yeah, I know.
I thought it was April.
The last time I looked at the calendar, it was April.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's cool. So, with it being September, next week, man,
New cycle, huh?
preseason cycle 1. So, I think to start this conversation, because we talked about this a little bit a long time ago on the podcast when Andy's first came about. But some things have changed since then in terms of how we structure things. And, you know, this is something we're going to talk about at our camp. Shameless plug.
There we go.
September 15th through 17th, Houston, Texas. Sign up is still open. So if you want to hear more about this kind of stuff and come train with us and get coached up for a weekend, do that. But, anyways, so this is something we're going to talk about at the camp. And this is a big part of our process here at Ascend. Is we look at the season in specific lenses depending on the time of the year it is, right?
True.
So that informs us on what we need to be doing in each part of the season.
There's a general layout
Right.
for that phase, and then you specify into each athlete.
Right. We specify into each athlete based on what their capabilities are. But the themes and the physiological adaptations we're aiming to get from each athlete are the same, more or less, in each cycle.
Yeah, varying ranges, varying goals maybe, but different. Similar periodization.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the old Glassman quote, right? The needs of the Olympian and the grandmother vary by degree, not kind.
Yeah.
So it's a similar thing to that. So with the preseason, right, we're coming off the off season. So if you've been following Ascend Athlete, we were doing a lot of zone 2 work. We weren't doing that much CrossFit. We were doing a lot of weightlifting. We were doing a lot of gymnastics capacity work, skill work, technique work, bodybuilding accessory, lots of that stuff. And that was all for a purpose to build athletes' bodies and make them healthy and ready to go into the preseason phase.
Mhm.
So, what question do you think people have the most? Well, what's one of them? And yes, I'm fishing, but when we say, hey, it's September 4th, and
Is it open prep yet?
yeah. Well, not only is it open prep yet, but also why are we starting the preseason in September?
Right.
Well, there's a couple of reasons for that, right? Number one, we have 2 preseason cycles.
So we believe in a longer preseason.
Believe in a longer preseason. The reason for that, which I will go much more into depth on at the camp, is question for you. I'll use you an example because I know I've done this. Have you ever? Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you ever done like a 8-week back squat cycle or like a 8-week running cycle that was like super aggressive?
Yes and yes.
Yeah, and like you finish those 8 weeks and your back squat's probably like 10% heavier, right?
Yes.
And then you stop squatting that frequently and you like go do something else and you look back and your back squat is probably what it was before that cycle, huh?
Give or take.
You maybe kept 5 pounds, right? Something like
Like
that.
as a consistently, yeah.
Exactly. This is a thing that I see happen and we see happen all the time in the CrossFit space.
Mhm.
People do these short, super hard, intense cycles, whether it's energy system training, whether it's strength training, whether it's a gymnastics focus, whatever. and they get some progress on it, and then they move on to something else, and they lose a lot of that adaptation.
You also get burnt out from that movement.
That as well.
Yeah.
Now tell me, Mr. Mahmoud,
Yes, sir.
why didn't I keep my adaptations from my super hard 8-week cycle?
I mean, technically speaking, you probably got the adaptation of the opposite side when you ignored it after that.
Well, it's twofold, right? Like one, you probably switched up dramatically because if you're squatting if you're squatting like super heavy 3 or 4 times a week, you probably got tired of squatting.
And
Because
probably going to one squatting day for not so heavy.
right. And the other side of that is you didn't do the thing long enough to make the adaptation go from an acute neurological adaptation to an actual change in tissue stimulus that sticks, right? And this is the same kind of thing. It's just a different physiological cascade with your energy systems. And it's a similar thing with your muscle endurance capacity on your gymnastics. If you do something for like 4 to 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and then you flip the script completely, you're not going to keep that adaptation, right? It takes time and volume and time under tension and repetition to get the body to get an adaptation that truly sticks with it for a long period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is why when you take preseason 1 and preseason 2 and add them together, it's 16 fucking weeks.
A similar example is if you do a pump session at the gym, you're gonna look big for like an hour, maybe 2, but you will wake up the next day and you won't feel the same way.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be back to base form.
Right. However, did you not work out? No, you did. Did you gain something? Absolutely. But
Right.
did that thing stick? No, for it to stick, you need to be doing that on a regular basis until your bicep looks like that, or your whatever pumped looks like that, not like regularly.
I mean, bodybuilding is probably one of the best examples of this
Right.
because building muscle takes forever.
Yep.
Right? So yeah, you go catch a pump. You can go catch a pump, but if you're trying to add meaningful muscle to your biceps, chest, lats, whatever, you're going to have to train that muscle group consistently and hard for months.
That's
and
why
months.
bulking cycles are usually, like eating wise, they're usually very long cycles.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't bulk for 8 weeks.
Yeah, no, you don't bulk for 8 weeks. You just get like chubby and not really that much muscle. So it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So that is why, to answer that question, because I know people are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, oh, what the fuck is this guy talking about the preseason for? It's fucking September. Like, I just want to not do anything.
Mhm.
No, if you're serious about the 2024 season, and I'm aware quarterfinals isn't until March and semis isn't until whenever, semifinals athletes, there's a little bit of a different time window for the preseason and all that stuff. But for the vast majority of athletes in the world and the vast majority of the athletes we coach, if you're taking next year seriously, this cycle is when you need to start dialing things in so that you can build those adaptations over time.
Fair enough.
Bueno?
No.
All right. So the strength work for this cycle, we spent a lot of time in the off season working on people's back squats. We did it in various rep ranges. We did volume. We did strength range repetitions. We did a heavier little bit of a block this last 4-week realization period. We are not tabling the back squat. We are pulling back on the back squat, and we are going to be spending a lot of time getting comfortable in the front squat.
Actually, a lot of time.
A lot of time, like twice a week.
So if you heard this is not going to be a squat cycle, you heard wrong. Listen again.
Oh, no, this is going to be a squat cycle for sure. And I mean, I think there's a good argument to make. I would make this argument. I'm more interested in how and what someone can front squat than I am really their back squat for a performance metric in CrossFit.
Generally speaking, yes.
Right. Unless you've got something really weird going on with your back squat. But the back squat itself is a tool, as is the front squat. These things are also things that can be tested. But from a global training perspective, I'm way more interested in the front squat. It is much more sport specific.
So as the season approaches, you want your focus to go from back squats to front squats.
Correct. Yes. So we're going to spend a lot of time in the front squat. You're going to spend a lot of time in your front rack. You're going to be accruing a lot of reps. This is going to be a volume base building cycle.
Andes.
Huh?
Andes is.
Andes is a volume base building cycle, but especially for our front squat.
Right.
If you're an athlete who's doing this cycle, whether you're a one-on-one athlete and you're getting the same squat prescription, or you're a blog athlete, don't just go in and go through the motions on your front squat.
What do you mean?
When we're doing a cycle like this, and you're going to be doing 6x6, things of that nature, that's 36 repetitions of the front squat. If you do that with intention and you really focus on keeping your front rack nice and high, you try to hold on the bar with your full hand, or maybe instead of letting 2 fingers come off, you get that ring finger in there. You're going to get better mobility. You're going to develop better positions. If you focus on driving your knees out, keeping your chest super upright, feeling your quadriceps when you go down in your front squats, it's going to pay dividends down the road in the squat clean. It's going to pay dividends in the jerk, right? It's going to pay dividends in high rep shoulder to overhead. It's going to pay dividends in a lot of different things we do down the road. So don't go into the gym and you're like, okay, I got to do my front squats. You just like do your front squats and then you're like, all right, that was cool. Like done. Next. Like pay attention to how you're moving. Focus on moving better. Even if you move pretty well.
There's always something to improve.
There's always something to improve.
They're never too good to improve.
No, there are people, and oftentimes people who are really, really good at something do the basics really, really well.
You got an empty bar and front squat properly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my front
I'll
squat.
also say that because I've seen that in some of my athletes. When it's high volume, even though if it's light, you are doing the movement more, which means your joints are under more frequency of movement.
Sure.
If you demo bad technique, chances are risk of injury is exponentially higher.
Yeah.
Like, don't be lazy because it will hurt you.
I have front squat 350 pounds before, and I jacked my back up doing a set of 10 at 215.
Yes.
Because I was being a dick shit.
Do not be lazy. Don't take a light barbell for granted.
No.
In any movement, that being said.
CrossFitters should be the best about knowing better than that. Because I can give people a 75-pound barbell and ruin your whole fucking existence. Like, if there's one strength sport that should respect a light barbell, it's CrossFitters. But
yes.
Oftentimes, they don't. Right?
I agree with you. And like, it's like the lighter barbell is not a license for you to just get lazy.
No, they're going to be difficult sets.
Practice like perfect form.
Yeah. You'll probably be sore.
You probably hear me at the gym whenever I coach, and I go over the technique like everybody hasn't done this movement before.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because again, you need to remember what you're working towards. You need to pick something that you want to make feel better. That's 60%. You're not going to PR your 60%, right? Not an outcome, not an option. So let's try and figure out, and that's going to probably also be in the camp in our intentional training lecture.
Yeah.
pick something out that you can see as an outcome when it comes to movement quality. What is something that you typically do that you would like to stop doing, or that you don't do that you would like to start doing?
Yep. 100%.
Simple.
All right. We kind of beat the squat thing to death.
And sorry, and that applies to all of it. Like
It does. This applies to everything else we're about to say. But Olympic weightlifting, we have been lifting pretty heavy. People had the opportunity to hit some heavy clean and jerks, heavy snatches. We are pulling it all back, and we are going to revisit those positions.
Complexes,
positional work, light weights in terms of percentage.
It's my favorite time of the year. It's like Christmas.
It's like Christmas for coaches because we get to see how bad everybody actually moves when the weight's not pushing them down.
And we get to improve people the most.
That's true. Yeah. It's two different perspectives here. I just like to point out the shit people do wrong. And I'm like, hey, you should fix that. But no, the Olympic lifting is very similar to the points we just talked about with the front squat. This is the time of year. If I prescribe somebody sets of 3 high hang snatch at 60% for a random number, and you are incapable of doing a technically sound high hang snatch at your 60% because you're all pull and no speed under the bar, take the weight even lighter.
Yep.
Because if you can perform that movement correctly and develop better speed under the bar, you will be better at heavier weight and heavier percentages when we start building those things up.
Yeah.
This cycle is like the check your ego cycle. This cycle.
If you're moving poorly, you're doing it wrong.
Yes. 100%. Lots of positional work with the snatch, lots of positional work with the clean and jerk, lots of positional work with the clean. Doesn't mean that it's going to be easy.
Nope.
If anybody's ever done positional complexes with the Olympic lifts, they're a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like barbell cardio. You finish a set and you're like, why is my heart rate 190? This is terrible. And there was no weight on the bar. But it makes you better. And it also builds that positional endurance. Going back to the technique thing, because I feel like a lot of times people don't realize like posture and position and technique, it's all kind of the same thing in the Olympic weightlifting world. But I don't want your bar path to be great, but your shoulders to be like this, right? When you're snatching, because you're overcompensating somewhere. Posture, positions, and technique. I don't care how much weight's on the bar. I really don't for the next 8 weeks. I almost said 8 months. That's a long time. I lied. 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Deadlifts. So if people have been following us for the last year, they know we did a positional deadlift cycle last year with some isometric holds. We're doing that again, just with the slightly different flavor. What would you recommend people do? And I'm fishing again. When they're doing those positional work deadlifts.
I mean, there's so many things, but mainly work on breathing and bracing.
So don't wear a fucking belt. Unless you've got a major back thing. And I have a back thing, and I'm going to do this cycle, and I'm not going to wear a belt. It would be better for them to go lighter and not wear a belt and pause when we tell them to pause and build that time under tension. Because if you do this cycle correctly, you're going to have an ironclad back.
And also learn what bracing is.
Yeah.
I still see people breathing into their lungs. Learn how to brace. If you don't know, don't be shy to ask. This is the time.
100%.
This is the time to ask. There's no such thing as like, oh, but everybody knows what bracing is. If you even if you think you know, if you're not sure, ask.
I've actually come to understand that nobody knows what bracing is.
I've heard terror stories in like chiropractor and like physical therapy offices.
Oh yeah.
Like, people suck their stomachs in.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did you just say? So
people are doing a like a bodybuilding vacuum pose.
Yeah.
Trying to train their transverse abdominis and
How
not
can you even
bracing at all.
squat in that way?
I could not. My low back, my L5 would actually leave my
Pop
body.
out.
It would actually leave my body if I tried to do a vacuum and pull my TVA
Standing up
in.
even, it would still leave my body.
If I tried to pull my transverse abdominis in and suck my stomach in while I did a back squat, I think I would blow my back out with an empty bar.
Yeah.
No.
So again, ask if you don't know. Yeah, bracing is a big deal, especially when it comes to pause deadlifts. This is basically where you need to know how to brace.
We're also going to have some strongman accessory kind of holds and carries and stuff like that this cycle. That's a great time to learn how to brace because you're going to be holding a heavy ass bag for a while.
Yep. Yep.
And it also makes you really strong. So there's that.
Knowledge is a virtue. Let's learn.
Knowledge is a virtue. Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, that ties into a lot of things we're going to be talking about in the coming months, and we'll also definitely talk about more later in the discussion when we get to the Metcons.
Yes, sir.
All right. Gymnastics. Going to be doing a decent bit of gymnastics accessory work, holds, strict pull-ups, all that stuff. I don't care how boring it is. I don't care.
Yep.
And honestly, my care for this is doubled now this year, because last year when I said I didn't care how boring it was because I need you to build positional endurance, tendon strength, and isometric strength in your gymnastics positions, so that when we do a workout with 100 chest to bar, and then the next day I have to have you do 30 ring muscle ups, you don't fall apart at the seams. The other reason I don't care now is at the CrossFit Games, the team athletes had to hold a ring support hold while the other people did stuff.
Yep.
And if that sends a message to anybody, there's a zero reason that can't be put into a rule book, standardized, and in quarterfinals.
Yeah.
There's no reason something like that. An L-sit hold, a fucking dead hang hold, a chin over the bar hold, a ring support hold, all that stuff, fair game.
Yeah.
And I don't care how many dips you can do. If you've never sat on the top of the rings until your arms were shaking and you felt like your boobs were going to explode, it's a different ball game. And a prolonged isometric contraction is a different ball game than moving through concentric and eccentric contractions quickly.
True. It's just a different stimulus, and you think it's gonna be like, oh, my triceps. No, but it's not just your triceps.
No,
It's
everything. More. When I do ring support holds, my sternum hurts.
Yep, sternum, my lats are engaged, my core is fired up, all of it. So
when we have these holds in there, and it's not all going to be holds all the time. You're going to do weighted pull-ups. Like I said, you're going to do dips. You're going to do all that stuff. But when there's those holds in there, going back to what we discussed about squatting and Olympic lifting, try to make it look like a gymnast.
Yeah.
I put in the notes, we put in the notes all the time when there's bodybuilding work, move like a bodybuilder. Feel your bicep, feel your quad, feel your hamstring, whatever, right? Same thing with those gymnastics holds. Externally rotate on top of the rings for the ring support holds. Squeeze your scaps down on an L-sit. Feel and look like a gymnast, and that will translate really well to that positional strength.
I agree. Body awareness.
That was literally the next thing that was about to come out of my mouth. You literally read my mind. It will also increase your body awareness a ton.
Yep.
A ton. Okay. All right. Energy system training, aka monostructural work and metcons. Good news for the athletes. We're going to do some more metcons. Bad news for the athletes.
We're going to do some more metcons.
We're going to do more metcons, and we're still going to do a lot of monostructural conditioning work.
Woohoo!
If people listen to whichever episode, if it was the last one or the one before, where I went on a little tirade about Zone 2,
No, I think it's the one before.
Might have been the one before. Everybody's going to be like, oh my God, what happened? Because zone 2 is going to take a back seat for a while.
You also talked about that.
Well, if you've been doing zone 2 for the last 3 months, it's okay. It'll stick around. It's going to show up. We're going to have longer conditioning. We're going to have some zone 2. Thursday is always going to have zone 2. So there's that. But it's going to take a step back a little bit. And we're going to work on some higher intensity fitness in some moderate and shorter time domains. Those time domains that we're going to train are going to be different depending on the modality, whether we're running, rowing, biking, ski erging, bike erging. And that is all part of the annual periodization that we have laid out over the year, quote unquote, moving toward quarterfinals and semifinals. I feel like it's fair to tell athletes and people who listen to this, the reason for that is we want you fit on the apparatuses in different ways at different times of the year.
Right.
That is done through dictating the time domains and the work rest intervals and things like that you're moving through. And the order that we have it laid out is basically to potentiate you to perform better and better and better in each subsequent cycle. If people don't know what I'm talking about, it's this really cool thing called phasic periodization or block periodization that the Russians came up with like 50 years ago. Check it out. It's pretty awesome. There was actually, random side note, there's a paper that came out 2 or 3 weeks ago that it basically said like block periodization for like energy system training. I think they were cycling yields better results than like undulating periodization.
Interesting.
And I was like, no shit. But anyways, it was cool to see a paper kind of come out and say that, because that's been a thing for a long time in weightlifting and strength, but block periodization being used for cardio basically hasn't been trained as much or tested as much, excuse me. So we're going to be running, we're going to be rowing, we're going to be biking, we're going to be doing all those things in different energy or time domains to work the different energy systems. We're also going to be shuttle running, because if there's one thing we know, those are important, even though I know I have my fingers crossed they don't show up this year because I'm absolutely sick of them.
Fair enough.
But I'm not gonna place any bets on that. So whatever.
That paper the systematic review, or was it not a systematic review?
It might have been a systematic review. Did you literally just
training periodization, intensity distribution, volume, and trained cyclist, the systematic review.
When did it come out?
Well, I have to into 2023.
Yeah, I think that's the paper.
Yeah,
that's funny that you found it that fast.
Well, you just write it and then filter by most recent.
If anybody's wondering why Mahmoud does what he does with Ascend, that's why. Because it would have took me an hour to find that paper, and he did it in 7 seconds while we're still talking. So
there's also a lot more papers that actually kind of back it up. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's good. Systematic reviews are always better than single studies anyways. So long story short, on the monostructural work, different time domains depending on the modality, different rest periods. Always want you guys looking at what is the fastest sustainable pace for this given workout. Mm-hmm. This is something that I've had a lot of conversations with athletes about.
Great way to put it, by the way. Can you repeat that slowly?
What is the fastest I can complete this workout given the work and the rest?
So sustainably.
What is the fastest sustainable pace I can complete this workout given the work and the rest?
So there's sandbagging, and then there's redlining, and then there's what we're looking for.
Yes. So, and we will be doing anaerobic intervals where, if we're doing anaerobic intervals and somebody just absolutely explodes on the last one, I don't care. Yeah. Because that's kind of the thing that happens there.
You've gotten the effect.
You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Right.
Try. We don't expect athletes to nail their monostructural conditioning all the time, because I don't want you to be gun shy.
Yeah, I also don't. Yeah, we don't want to be comfortable.
Right. Like this should, that's why I said fastest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But and this could be a whole nother separate podcast, but I am not the biggest fan of dictating paces with all of the single modality conditioning work.
Yeah.
Because if I tell you, Mahmoud, you're
Mm-hmm.
a good runner, you're going to run these 200s today, and I want you to run these 200s in 50 seconds, whatever. And the rest is whatever. It literally doesn't matter. And you feel really good that day and can run them in 37 seconds.
And keep it that way.
And keep it that way.
And that's the caveat.
Why the fuck would I not want you to run it in 37 seconds?
Right. You're not me.
Right. Like you're going to get fitter
Right.
by doing that.
Right.
So that is why I say that. Like when you're an athlete, obviously if you're being coached by us individually, you're going to get a little more feedback in our blog. You know, there's some notes and things like that to help you understand this, but you should look at, you know, if I had 8 by 500 meter row, 90 seconds rest, I'm going to say to myself, okay, what is the fastest pace I can do these 500s with only 90 seconds of recovery? That's going to be hard, but I should sustain it. And if I fall off, I'm only going to fall off maybe on the last 2.
And here's one more thing. Like, let's say you did your 500s and you felt great after that last one. And you're like, maybe I could have gone faster. Guess what?
You still got
Note that down.
Yes.
And do it next week.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of a cycle.
Yes.
Like, I can't write you percentages on a rowing piece.
You could, but it'd be really hard.
I mean, I can, but it's very subjective.
Yes, super subjective.
Right? So, like, note that down. And that's why logging your score at this point or writing in a notebook or whatever is very important. And then go for a faster pace if you felt like I didn't give it all I got.
Yeah.
Right? That's progress.
Well, and the flip side caveat to this is it's not a pass or fail. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you, and I have done this before, like if you go into the gym and you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to send it. And you just absolutely fall off. Are you getting the desired stimulus of the workout? No. But you're getting fitter. You're getting adaptation. If I go out and do those 500 meter rows and send it so hard on the first one, I rode like a 132 or something stupid for me right now. And then like by the last interval, I'm fighting for my life to hold like a 150. My legs are on fire. My fucking heart rate's 200. Like I'm getting stimulus. It's not the exact same stimulus that we wanted for that piece, but it's okay. If you do what he just said and take it and learn.
Right. It's
all
not
right.
Like, this is what I do.
Yeah, no, please don't be. Oh God, please, guys, don't be that athlete.
Right.
Who just fucking sends it on everything all the time. You make your coaches nuts.
Like I used to say that back in the day. I have one pace. That's the worst thing you can say as an athlete. You need to have multiple paces.
I can't believe you said that, actually.
Yes, I know. But that was because of lack of practice. I didn't have a rower, so whenever I got on the rower, I just had one pace.
And to be fair to the other side of this conversation, and then we'll move on, this doesn't just apply to the people who come out too hard.
Yeah.
If you are somebody who does your 500 meter repeats and gets off the rower and you're like, that was good. Go faster.
Mm-hmm.
Make it hurt. That's where the adaptation is.
Athletes who have like one piece of conditioning that day and it has like just rowing, you should not feel well after that. Right? Like you should make that, okay, this is my goal today. Train with intention.
Absolutely. Volume is not super high in this cycle right now.
Mm-hmm.
Intensity is still the golden nugget.
Right.
Always. Right? All right. Enough about single modality conditioning. Metcons. So as I said, we're going to be doing a little bit more Metconning this cycle. Yay. Everybody's happy to do more CrossFit. Woo. The biggest focus we have for athletes in the first preseason and the second preseason block, so the entire amount of preseason, is learning something from a Metcon.
What do you mean?
Learn and experiment. Don't be tied into the leaderboard, right? If there's a workout that is an AMRAP of handstand walk, double kettlebell hang snatches, and toes to bar, and like, I'll use myself as an example on this workout. Handstand walk, pretty good at. Double kettlebell hang snatch. If it's not too heavy, I'm probably going to be fine as well. Toes to bar, probably one of my best movements to this day. So if I have a workout like that has all good movements for me, where am I going to, how do I look at that and make that better for myself? Well, I know, because I'm somebody who likes to rest a little bit before I get on the toes to bar or something like that, and then go unbroken. I know for myself that in that workout, I would be like, okay, I'm going to push my handstand walk. I'm going to try to hang on to these kettlebells, and I am going to have the fastest transition possible to those toes to bar. And I'm just going to do a set. And it doesn't matter if I go unbroken. I'm not going to hit failure, but I'm going to push myself to a point where I'm transitioning quickly and getting on that bar so that I can practice being on those toes to bar under fatigue, and then learn what kind of sets I can hold for the rep range while I'm under that amount of fatigue and transitioning that quick. Why is that valuable? Because if I was doing the open or quarterfinals, you know what's really fucking important? Transitions.
Rest time.
Rest time. Stop standing around, right? So if I, one, I'm training the stimulus I need to improve at. Unbroken sets of toe to bar are not the thing I need to get better at. I need to get better at faster sets of toe to bar with less rest.
Get on the bar.
And two, I'm learning. I can look back at that workout and I can go, okay, I went unbroken on the first round. I did 2 sets of this rep range on the second round. On the third round, I had to do 4 sets of this rep range. So, you know, I really started to fall off. And then I can look back and say, all right, if there's a grippy workout with my arms and around this number of toe to bar, I should probably strategize it, if I was going to strategize it for maximal performance, and do like this rep range from the beginning with a short rest between my sets. And that should allow me to stay moving at a little bit more of a consistent pace.
Another thing, if I may add to that, let's say you try to do that and you fail. Guess who's getting that? Your coach.
100%.
Guess what he's going to do? Personalize pieces in order to attack that point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. If you hit a volume, you know, like capacity mark, and you just fucking blow up on toes to bar or just blow up on handstand walk, that's just another little thing for your coach. He's going to be like, all right, we need to polish up a little more handstand walk. Like, how much handstand walk volume did you get right there? All right, you made it 200 feet before your arm started to fall off. Gotcha. And then like they adjust that and work that into the programming to make sure they're still addressing those individual weaknesses. Right.
Because the next phase, especially like giving your example is really good. The next phase after the Andy cycle's over, or towards the end of it, we're going to work on just gymnastics under fatigue. And that's a really cool segue. And let's be honest, that's almost everybody's weakness.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's not your weakness, it's still probably one of the most important things you can train right now, because Bosman has a hard on for gymnastics when you're really tired.
Right. So that's what you want to, again, or that's why you want to make sure that you're taking notes, you're providing your coaches with notes. Marking a piece as completed is the bare minimum. Please don't do that.
Please don't. Just
because then I got nothing. Right.
We know you didn't die.
Right. Even though, let's say you don't have us as coaches, you got nothing.
Yeah. Take notes.
Right. Have a book and write.
I don't anymore because I'm too scattered, but I've been putting my stuff in SugarWad.
Right.
I've just been making my own logbook.
Right.
But when I had like 3 notebooks,
and
I don't know where they're at anymore, but there is like, I would write notes after my workouts.
Yeah.
I would write every weight I hit. I would write my sets for gymnastics and what I did in the workout and how it went and like where I blew up and like
How
if
many
I
times you
video
talked?
if I chalk a lot. Anyways, if I videoed the workout, I would look back and like do my split times and see where like that data is really, really important because like he said, as you go into the next cycle, it accelerates your ability to train smarter
Yeah.
and to work on the things you need to work on. And it teaches you, and this is something that we're going to talk about at the camp, and you guys are going to hear more about from us on the podcast, is it teaches you to play the sport of CrossFit, right? CrossFit is not just exercising as fast as you can until you get really tired.
That's working out.
That's working out, exactly. Learning to play the sport of CrossFit and know yourself. How does this feel? Do I need to pull back? Can I push a little bit more? I should probably break right now because this is coming. And it's a lot of data to learn to manage in your head. It's like a video game with like a heads up display kind of thing. But like, if you can learn that stuff, there are a lot of athletes who beat athletes in quarterfinals because they're better at playing the sport of CrossFit.
Even on local competitions, I've seen
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. That's why Rich was so good, especially his first couple years.
Yeah.
Like everybody else started to figure it out, but the first couple times he won, he was better at playing the sport.
And even when you hear him talk, like, oh, this guy isn't just about dying in the workout.
No.
Right? So
the only time if somebody paces a workout properly, the only time you should be dying is like the last 2 minutes.
Or in a sprint.
If it's a sprint workout, then just whatever. Go light yourself on fire and figure it out. But learn and pick things in these Metcons to focus on. Even if it doesn't lead to the most optimal score. Because nobody cares about the leaderboard in September.
Nope.
They care about the leaderboard in February and March. Right? Just really, it drives me nuts when I see athletes not take the opportunity in this time of the season to learn. And there's probably athletes out there that they need to learn how to just show up and blow up.
Right.
That's the thing. But getting data and experimenting and pushing yourself in different game plans and not doing game plans sometimes. I got significantly better at ring muscle ups when I stopped gaming them in Metcons, even though it ruined my score. Every time there was a bunch of muscle ups in a Metcon, I was like, I'm broken.
What does that, beside capacity, what does it give you?
Well, it gives me the data, one. And I think the most important thing that it does is, like you said, the capacity. Like if I go and I hang on to hard sets of muscle ups, like not to failure, but I'm doing more than would be smart, right? I'm going to hit a high level of fatigue on that movement relatively quickly. And when you keep doing it, you're going to build strength and endurance and adaptation in that movement, right?
What's another C word that it gives you?
I don't know, man.
Confidence.
Oh, for sure. Confidence. Absolutely.
How many times have you sat with an athlete before an event and they're like, well, I'm not sure about my ring muscle ups?
Every competition ever.
Right. And that is something because you're scared and that will limit your performance.
Yeah. And like, it's okay to fail a ring muscle up in training. It's okay to fail a chest to bar. Don't fall off, please. But
failing as in not get one.
Yeah. Like it's okay. Like if you're doing a workout and it's an AMRAP and you've got 25 seconds left and you're getting on the rings, just fucking hold on and see. And even if you fail and there's 10 more seconds left, who cares? Because eventually with your training, it's going to catch up and you're going to hang on for those 25 seconds or you're going to do 10 or whatever at the end. And you're going to be like, oh, fuck, I just did 10 ring muscle ups at the end of this AMRAP and I was dying. That's good.
And that will also dictate to your coaches, okay, in capacity pieces, what is the threshold that we're pushing?
Yeah. What numbers do we need to be working?
Right. Because again, coaches could do everything, but at the end of the day, if they don't have accurate data, they're going to push to the extent that they think is right.
Yeah, but if we don't know, we don't know.
Give them feedback, then that is probably right.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. All right. So we talked about strength. We talked about gymnastics. We talked about energy systems. We talked about Metcons.
Bodybuilding.
Bodybuilding accessory this cycle, good call, is going to be very simple. It's going to be very simple. The overall amount of accessory work is coming down a little bit this cycle. And that's because we're doing more Metcons again.
You can't do it all together.
Yeah, you can have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time.
Yeah.
We're going to try to give you all of it at the same time, but that's not until March.
When you actually have to do it all at the same time.
Right. So but getting there, you can't have it all at the same time. You can't get better at, oh, hold on. I'm going to get fucking roasted for this. You can get better at everything at the same time. Fucking, I almost
You can't
got canceled
all the time.
It's easier to make meaningful improvements in things if you don't do everything at the same time.
Right. And that's where it all ties down to the word periodization.
Man, the fitness fucking gods were going to cancel me. That was going to be bad. Don't talk about that. Don't talk about that competition. I specifically didn't bring it up because I didn't want to do a recap.
Fair enough.
It went great for some athletes. And it was a high injury risk for others. Anyways.
Let's just stop there.
And we'll stop there because I don't need to get fired up. All right. So bodybuilding, check that off. Again, with your bodybuilding work, be a bodybuilder. Move perfectly. If we prescribe bicep curls, or I prescribed an athlete, I don't know, what's an accessory movement I program? Heel elevated goblet squats. It's like one of my favorite things to give people. And you're doing heel elevated goblet squats and you don't feel your quads, you're fucking it up. It's the whole point of the exercise.
Change something.
Video yourself. Try squeezing your quads if you have the mind-muscle connection to do that. But most people do. So, if you're doing bodybuilding work, you should feel the targeted muscle activating. Yep. And you should hopefully not feel much other muscles activating.
Yep. This is more isolation. Not all of it, but most of it.
Yeah. If you're doing, I don't know, close grip bench press and you're getting a shoulder pump and not a tricep pump, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Something's wrong. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Almost got fired up there for a second. Bodybuilding, gymnastics, strength, conditioning. Sounds like a pretty well-rounded program.
Yeah. You know what we also do? We give you a warm-up.
We do. Actually, Mahmoud gives everybody a warm-up. I'll go ahead and give him all the credit for that because I absolutely hate writing warm-ups. So I adjust warm-ups, but I hate writing warm-ups. They are the worst thing ever. And if any of you were wondering, and if you ever come to the gym and watch me work out, you'll understand why. Because I'm really not bad at warming up. You could tell I don't like to do it.
Yeah.
It's the one bonus of living in Houston. You don't have to warm up very much.
You still need to warm up.
You do need to warm up. I was making a point because it's 1,000 degrees in Houston. Right. It's very easy to warm up because you're sweating all the time.
True.
In December, it's harder to warm up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't warm up.
Yeah, I remember in the Open last year, I warmed up in quarterfinals. I warmed up for quite some time, like a 30-minute warm up.
Yeah, it was chilly here, especially in quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Because even because I did that row GHD workout, and I didn't have time to warm up. I didn't feel good until I was a round in. My second set of GHD sit-ups was 20 seconds faster than my first.
Yeah.
Because I was not moving quickly. Housekeeping, because I'm all over the place right now. What do we got? We got the camp.
September 15th to the 17th.
September 15th to 17th. I will go ahead and put this out now because this will come out tomorrow, and I should have already made the post about this. Registration deadline is September 7th. The 7th of September. I think that's a Wednesday. Maybe. Anyways.
Let's say yes.
When you look at your phone, if it says September 7th, that's the last day to register. Made that easy.
Yeah.
So that's the last day to register. 3-day camp out in Houston. We're going to be going over intentional training, warming up, interval work, why we structure things the way we are, gymnastics work, Olympic weightlifting work. We got a full schedule planned for that weekend. It's going to be a good time. And if the weather keeps it up, it might actually be bearable.
And I'm just going to put that, if you don't have any intention of joining Ascend Athlete, it's still going to be very beneficial for you to start off your season.
Yeah.
Just come, have fun. It's going to be a good time. You're going to learn a lot. There's no like prerequisite or whatever. It's not just for Ascend athletes.
We all at Ascend want every athlete in the world to reach their potential.
That's kind of why Ascend started.
Yeah, like we tend to think we have a really good way of getting you there, but we are by no means like you don't have to come to the camp and then sign up with us.
Right.
It's okay. It's not going to hurt our feelings. Like
No.
We want to help people be successful in reaching their goals.
Absolutely.
So don't be shy if you're like, oh, I don't know. Like, I really like this coach at my gym and whatever. Like, it's okay. You can come. We will teach you. And then you can go back and, use that knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
We have some competitions coming up. We have TFX qualifier 27th of September. A lot of athletes are going to be doing it from our roster.
Yeah.
We have the Desert Game. Do you want to explore or expand about that real quick?
Yeah. So we're working on building out some programming for the Desert Games. Really excited to be partnering with them to help them with that. So
can you where is it? Who's hosting it?
El Paso, Texas, El Paso, Tejas. And it is out of Elevate Fitness, owned by my friend Mark.
Is it in October?
It is October 21st. Stand by. Shout out to social media for saving me all the time with things like this. October 21st, correct.
So if you're interested in competing, it is an individual competition?
There is actually scaled teams of 3, intermediate teams of 2, and RX individual.
Well, if you're interested and you're in the area or you want to fly there, go for it.
El Paso's a great place too. I love El Paso.
And then what else do we have? I think that's Wadapalooza qualifiers.
Wadapalooza qualifiers are coming up.
And then for Coach Hattie.
Yep. That's in November, right?
Yes.
Yep. LFit November, Wadapalooza qualifiers.
October.
Huh?
I want to say October.
For what?
Wadapalooza.
Yeah, I think so.
And there is also Beach Brawl that some of our athletes are doing.
Beach Brawl.
Florida.
Yep. So possibly going to have some people out at the Legends camp or Legends competition.
Oh, yeah. Masters.
Yep. So lots of stuff going on with all those things, but really excited for the camp coming up in a couple weeks. Have everybody down. I really hope the weather blesses us and is not too hot. I mean, the last couple of days have been
nice,
way better.
Yeah.
So, all right, my man. I think that's good. We're excited for this cycle to get started. This is the cycle where you can really. This cycle and the next cycle are really the cycle where you can, in my opinion, make the most progress towards your goals for the 2024 season.
Agreed.
So awesome. Well, if you guys have any questions or you'd like to talk more about some of the things we discussed here, the camp, anything like that, shoot Mahmoud or I a message on the Instagrams. Yep, our links are up there in the bio. And we will talk to you guys next time.